Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to our 7 key changes to total compensation that will impact your workforce webinar. My name is Earl Shindruck, and alongside of me is my colleague, Ada Tai. Working closely with clients, Ada and I have seen changes and challenges that the pandemic imposes on businesses, especially small businesses. However, at the same time, employees are also struggling with their own well-being, whether it be to retain physical health or mental health. Through our conversations, we learned that organizations would like to take this time to reevaluate their benefits and to make sure they are cost efficient and aligned with the best practices in the market when it comes to benefits and perks, and to retain the workforce after the pandemic is over. Before we get started, we want to introduce each other to you. First, I'm going to introduce Ada. Ada is a consultant, a speaker, and an instructor. She has an MBA, a chartered professional and HR designation, and a chartered manager designation. She's been working as an HR business professional in a variety of industries for over 12 years. Through her consulting firm, I'm going to get this wrong, but Beta B Consulting,
perfect.
Ada offers a full scale of HR consulting services, including return to work planning, strategic HR planning, recruitment, workplace training, compensation design, performance management, diversity and inclusion, along with many other things. Another specialty of Ada's services is personal job search and career coaching. Ada and her team have effectively helped over 500 people to find work in Canada and the US. Ada is regularly invited to speak on HR, people management, career search, and networking topics throughout the province. Additionally, she is a well-respected instructor at the University of Alberta and at MacEwan University. Over to you, Ada.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Earl. Now it's my pleasure to introduce my lovely colleague, Earl. As the founder and president of Optimax Benefits, Earl has brought over 26 years of experience and leading-edge innovation to the group benefits industry. He has demonstrated old-fashioned concepts of being accessible and getting to know the clients. Formerly, Earl served as the general manager of a contracting company and honed his skills with large corporations such as TransAlta and Laidlaw Waste Systems. Earl believes in giving back to his community, so he was one of the founders and board chair of the Meningitis Foundation of Alberta and has been serving on various boards such as North Millbourne Community League, Millwoods Cultural and Recreational Facilities Association, Brandon Center for Learning, and many more. Currently, he is on the board of NPO Collective, the 100 YEG, and the Edmonton Business Association. Earl also taught employee benefits classes at MacEwan University, and he's also a regular guest speaker for MacEwan University and the University of Alberta. He regularly gets invited to speak on benefits on a variety of networks, such as the CPHR Alberta Association and IPMA. It's my pleasure to give this webinar along with Earl to whoever joined us today and whoever will watch our recording going forward.
Great, thanks, Ada. So what are we going to cover today? There's a few things that we're going to go over. With the passion of serving the community through this tough time, Ada and I put together this webinar to discuss a few topics. One is what we have learned from the pandemic. We will discuss what total compensation includes, how it's being utilized to attract, retain, and motivate your workers. Benefits is an integral part of total compensation. What are the popular benefits and perks out there? What are things people are most looking for? What are the trends going forward? The popular benefits should be something that employers consider adopting. And from my perspective, a frontline benefits broker perspective, what are the trends and issues when it comes to employee benefits these days, and why can you expect some big increases in your premiums in the coming benefits year? What do employers need to be aware of? There are some considerations to take into account when it comes to return to work, planning, and how benefit trends can have an impact on your return to work process. What are some of the solutions for smaller organizations, those that are just starting up or less than 50 people? They don't have a big budget for benefits, but they still want to offer something to attract and retain workers. We anticipate that there will be more freelancers going forward as people tend to move away from some of the traditional workforces and larger corporations. What are some options for these smaller employers when they are searching for benefits packages? We'll have some time for Q&A. And Ada and myself, mainly Ada, will engage you in some chat activities. You're welcome to ask questions by raising your hand or putting your comments in the chat portion of the screen. Our webinar will be about 40 minutes. During the webinar, please mute yourself to enjoy the quality of the presentation. And now Ada will talk about total compensation.
Great, thank you very much, Earl. Just a 2 minutes recap of total compensation. Our topic today is on the 7 key changes that impact total compensation of your workforce. So let's take a quick review of what total compensation means. Another term you may have heard is total rewards. It means essentially the same thing. It's a total holistic value that an employee will receive from the organization by working at that organization. Includes 3 components: direct pay, incentive pay, and indirect pay. Let me explain each one of them. With direct pay, it's usually associated with employees' inputs. If I'm an employee working for an organization, part-time, full-time, salaried, or hourly waged, as long as I contribute with my hours, regardless of the results I achieve, I receive a certain amount of pay. Usually, direct pay is fixed, tied with workers' inputs. Incentive pay is for organizations to incentivize certain behaviors, reward for high performers, so things like merit increase that employees receive on an annual basis, bonuses at the end of a project, or at the end of a year they receive, sales commissions, very common, or profit sharing. These are all examples of incentive pay that organizations pay to their workers to incentivize good results or good behaviors. Indirect pay is something we're going to focus on today. This is not, most of the time, not associated with output or input of workers, but more related to their status. So for example, if I'm an employee working full-time permanent at an organization, after I pass probation, my organization perhaps will offer me benefits, healthcare benefits packages. Other things that's covered under indirect pay would include your retirement benefits, pension, RSP, education reimbursements, on-site childcare facility, gym access pass, discounted parking, which is key to downtown parking, and also flexibility, work from home options, time off. Those are all examples covered under indirect pay. The total compensation is very important. It's a powerful tool to show to your new hires or to the talent that you want to attract. And because that helps the candidate you want to attract to focus on the total value they're going to receive by joining your organization instead of just the base pay they're going to get. Compare apples to apples when they compare job offers. The total compensation is also powerful to motivate your current workforce and retain your current workforce, just to say the least. So now this is your opportunity to give some feedback to Earl and myself. Please take the moment, next 10 seconds, to put in the chat box. What are your favorite benefits that your organization offer? Let's give it 10 seconds for you to put in some answers, please. Kevin loves his health spending account. I do too. Thank you, Kevin. Ivana says dialogue, telemedicine. That's very popular these days too. Sabrina enjoys flex hours. Time off on my birthday as well. Thanks, Kevin. All right, as more people are putting in the answers to our chat question, feel free to take your time to put in your thoughts and comments about your favorite benefits in the workplace. We are going to move forward. So as I mentioned, today's webinar, our focus is on the employer-offered workplace benefits, and Earl is really the expert in this field. So Earl, please take it over.
Thanks so much, Ada. Thanks everybody for your comments on your favorite benefits. So we're going to talk primarily about some benefit trends that are happening out there. And I want to just spend a little time introducing this to you. Through the first part of COVID-19, many employers kept their group benefits exactly as they were before COVID hit. Their businesses were experiencing layoffs, transitions, staff reductions, but most of them kept their plans just like they had been before. Some put their plans into what's called benefit plan suspension, where the insurance company wouldn't charge the premiums for a while. And then also the insurance carriers reduced some premiums substantially. Dental premiums were cut by 50 to 60% for several months, because dentist offices weren't open. Also, practitioners such as massage and physio, chiropractic were not open, so we found that a lot of carriers also cut the extended healthcare premiums by anywhere from 15 to 25%. The number of people that actually canceled their plans initially was just 1%, less than 1%. And those that changed their plans, some would add some things and take some things away, but most were removals. Less than 1% removed dental only, some removed dental and practitioners, and some removed other benefits. But again, very few canceled or changed their plans. Initially, they took a wait and see attitude. Now what we're seeing is substantial claims activity in a whole bunch of areas, and we will see higher prices at renewal for sure. Life insurance is the first one up there. So in life insurance, we are seeing increased mortality, which refers to the amount of people in a given set of people who are passing away. So right now with COVID, we are seeing more and more people that are dying, unfortunately. And so that is going to increase life insurance rates over time and at renewal in particular. This also affects accidental death and dismemberment and dependent life. So with dependent life, it covers the spouse and dependent children, and those rates will be going up as well as some of the spouses or, unfortunately, children pass away. On to what's called morbidity, which is sick days and disability coverages. And Ada's going to say a little bit about sick day coverage and what's happening in that field.
Right. Different organizations tend to have different policies and programs around their sick day offerings. Very common these days, you see organizations provide fixed number of days of sick days to the employees, or fixed amount of hours the employees can accumulate based on the hours they work in a year. For instance, as an employee, I can accumulate up to 10 days of sick days per year, use it or leave it, cannot carry it over. Where I may get paid out if I have any unused sick time at the end of the year. It really depends on the organization. This time tends to be prorated for part-timers or new hires, depends on when they start with the organization. Other organizations we have seen is after an employee called in sick and for a few hours, the organization will consider that time as a short-term disability, which Earl will talk more about today. During the pandemic, I mean, this is a pandemic crisis that none of us have ever experienced before. So the employers we've seen have also gone out of their way to provide that flexibility. For instance, employees who were under quarantine or self-isolation, employers, I mean, this is not legislatively required to be paid time off, job protected for sure, but some employers offer vacation days or sick days for employees to use, or flex days for them to use, for them to be at home, but also collecting some money. That was very generous. Going forward, what we predict is that more and more flexibility around sick days will be offered. Very commonly, what we've seen is that organization will lump sick, vacation, flex time off all together into one lump sum package and say, this is the number of days you can have in a year. Use it however way you see fit. Other organizations we have seen is that they offer a time off bank right from the get-go in order to attract the top talent. What about disability, Earl?
Yeah, great question, Ada. Thank you. So I'm going to just do a quick poll here. I know I can't see your hands, but who's not stressed these days? I don't see any hands go up. Probably everybody's under a lot of stress. So that includes Ada and myself. There's concerns all over society today, in whatever country you're in, whatever province you're in. Stress and worry are everywhere. We can't get away from it. So this has caused a high incidence of mental health claims and short-term disability claims, particularly in anxiety and depression. So you see a lot of claims going through on those bases, more so than before the pandemic hit. Long-term disability, those claims are also rising, and the carriers will put in pretty significant increases. We're seeing those already for long-term disability. The number one reason for long-term disability claims is mental health issues, including depression. I know some of you live in Sherwood Park or close by, and there was a story about a lawyer killing himself and then also killing members of his family. Very sad story, high stress situation. I talked to somebody who knows that family personally, and they said there were some serious mental health issues there and were increased during the pandemic. So I think we'll see more and more of that type of issue happening. Now, in terms of moving from long-term disability to extended healthcare, in extended healthcare, we don't see any drop in medications. In fact, we see medication use increasing and costs increasing. A lot of these medication increases are in the mental health area. Drugs such as Prozac, such as Cipralex, etc., for mental health issues, depression, and so on. Ativan, commonly used for anxiety. Those medication uses are going up along with a whole bunch of other medications. Depression and anxiety have taken over as #1 prescribed medications during this time. There's other issues happening too. Cholesterol is increasing, diabetes. All the stress that people are under is causing physical problems as well. So we're seeing a lot of medication usage going up, both the increase in usage and frequency of claiming, frequency of prescriptions. Along with this, during the same time period, high-cost specialty medication is increasing. Prescriptions for rare diseases such as cancer, ulcers, skin disorders, rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, high cholesterol. I have a client that has somebody with rheumatoid arthritis, and that one gentleman, the prescription for his Remicade is $25,000 to $30,000 per year just for him. So we see these types of high-cost specialty medications being used more often, and the drug spend in those areas isn't as big as regular drug spending, but it's increasing substantially. It's approaching 30% of the total drug spend. Another thing that happened to a lot of people that have chronic conditions is there was a 30-day limit put on prescriptions. So rather than getting one prescription for 90 or 100 days, you get one for 30 days, which caused a spike in dispensing fee costs as well. Some of those conditions would be arthritis, high cholesterol, blood pressure medication. Now, there's a big issue around infectious diseases such as COVID. One of the most demanded benefits now is immunization. Employees are asking for, can you cover my immunization costs? Large drug companies such as Sanofi, which published a healthcare benefits survey recently, had a lot of data on that. One of the things they are working on with another drug company is a vaccine for COVID-19. There's a lot of emphasis on COVID, but there's other diseases that are serious as well, and employees are now wanting those types of things included in their benefits program. There are several ways to control costs in medication usage, such as dispensing fee caps, managed formularies, preferred provider networks, and so on. Another part of extended healthcare is massage therapy. Practitioners like chiropractic, massage, physio, counseling, those rates are now increasing substantially because everybody's going back to see their practitioners, their massage therapists, their chiropractor. There's a lot of counselor usage. The in-person visits mean that these practitioners have to have proper COVID protection, and they're adding additional fees just to cover COVID costs. Currently, the carriers are saying we're not covering those in our regular fee guides, either for practitioner usage or dental usage, but employees are saying, well, those should be covered. So you'll see plan changes and you'll have to change your own plan to make sure they're covering those COVID costs that are added on. Dentists, if you go in there, they're fully garbed, they're fully clothed, they have face shields, they have masks. All that costs a little bit extra for the personal protective equipment, PPE. Again, those are not covered. There's not a specific fee for COVID costs, although the dental associations seem to be adding on an extra cost for COVID. So again, we'll see plan changes and increased costs for practitioners and for dental. The area that I want to focus on for another couple minutes at least is mental health. 56% of people say COVID has had some negative impact on their mental health. So that's over 1 in 2. That's over 50%. It used to be 1 in 4 or 5. Now it's 1 in 2, actually more than that. A lot of people, my friends included, colleagues, people I know, are anxious a lot. They're worried. They're depressed. Since COVID hit, 16% of people are reporting high levels of depression. way more so than before when it was about 4%. So that's quadrupled. To have somebody highly depressed in your workforce, either remotely or in your office, is something you have to be aware of. Isolation and loneliness is up significantly. And again, these can lead to increased anxiety and depression. 25 to 30% of Canadians say they are now experiencing prolonged loneliness. It's a big issue, and it will cause other mental health issues. People are afraid. They have feelings of, am I going to keep my job? Will it be there? Am I going to get sick? Am I going to have contact with somebody that has COVID? Loved ones are passing away from COVID. I know some people personally that have had friends pass away, and a lot of people are fearful about even leaving home, going out back into the marketplace, into the workplace. A lot of people think they won't be able to cope. They're stuck. They have a difficult time changing and adapting. Also, people have financial issues. A lot of people are struggling with job loss, decreased wages, changing jobs, so reduced hours, reduced salary. And a lot of people are turning, unfortunately, to unhealthy coping strategies, self-medicating with either alcohol or cannabis or both. With all the increase on mental health focus, there's a lot of wait times, longer wait times for psychiatrists, psychologists, and counselors. There are some great solutions out there. I'm going to talk about some of those. A lot of plans are now having a virtual option. I think somebody talked about virtual health in the feedback here. Virtual health means you can actually not go to see your doctor, and you can use virtual health to see a medical professional such as a doctor or nurse practitioner for commonly treated conditions. You can have a prescription re-prescribed and not see your doctor in person. Some of the employers are raising their maximums for psychologists and counselors to $750 per year or $1,000 per year per person in families because they see this as a big issue. Employee assistance programs, EAPs, usage is increasing. There's more plans being implemented, and there's higher than average call-ins. One of our clients said, the best thing we did was put in our EAP because a lot of people are using it. Their workforce is a mix between office, but mostly people working remotely these days. So people need somebody to talk to. If they have an issue, it's better they talk to it than not talk to somebody. Another great practical idea is just connect with family and friends. If you want to meet in person, meet in your backyard deck, social distance applied. You can do video meetings, Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, etc. A lot of people have found an opportunity to either set up a home gym, or now gyms are reopening, so doing walking, running, hiking, and using physical fitness as a great means of relieving stress. Some people are also learning new skills, which employers are actually looking for these days. They're upskilling. A friend of mine is taking a whole bunch of innovation and technology type courses, moving away from the hospitality industry and moving into technology. So all those are great solutions, but mental health is probably the biggest issue, will have the biggest effect going forward. People are concerned for vaccines, so they do want that included. And we'll also have to see COVID fees being covered by the insurance companies in benefit plans. So there are big changes happening now. Also want to mention wellness accounts. Wellness accounts can be used for fitness club memberships and a whole bunch of related things. And a lot of employers are putting those in place now. You can access wellness workshops, online training, and various means of wellness, including using apps and other things to help your health get better. So that's a broad overview of what's happening right now, I'm sure, and I'm looking forward to questions that you have. And I'm going to turn it over to Ada at this time.
Thank you, Earl. With the wellness concepts, we have seen organizations to really went out of their way to be creative in order to make sure their employees are well, especially for people who live alone or work alone. They want to make sure that on a regular basis they do a check-in. And also we've heard about organizations who use click dishes or skip the dishes to order food at the same time during the typical office lunch hour for employees at different households to eat and virtually join the team. We have also seen organizations that have virtual happy dance hour. So the team dance together, but virtually from their own home. So all kinds of interesting creative ideas just to This is an opportunity for employers to really embrace their relationship with employees. The one critical question you can ask yourself is, after COVID, has your relationship with employees improved or not improved? Last month, I published an article on my company's website, as well as for the CPHR Alberta Association, on the 6-step strategies of effectively returning to work. So the first step I recommend for employers to consider is to take a look at your overall workplace planning, work planning. So what have we learned from this crisis? What did we do well, and what can we improve upon going forward? What's our mission, vision, and objectives? Let's not forget about that. Did we have a change of business model? For retails, a lot of them went to e-commerce platforms. So there's a slight business model change, but it's still serving the same clientele, probably broader clientele, but still in the same retail business. Are we going to continue business the same way or different way going forward? And then with all these objectives planned, we want to know that going forward, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, what are the goals that we want to set for ourselves? How can we get there? With that being said, what kind of talent do we need in order to achieve our milestones as well as our overall business objectives? Can our current workforce suffice all these requirements? Do we have a contingency plan that as we recall workers back to work, some of them refuse to come back to work? We've heard that recently. Some workers cannot come back to work simply due to childcare arrangements. We're taking care of ill family members. Others cannot come back to work because they don't feel safe. They don't want to put themselves and their families in jeopardy if they come back to the work sites. We have also heard stories about workers refusing coming back to work because the relatively stable CERB benefits or the EI benefits. All kinds of scenarios playing these days. So it's a really tough time for employers and managers to manage. Then the third step is on task planning. What do we need to get done operationally? While managers will be busy firefighting and restoring the operations, this is the time to encourage your workers to problem solve independently, to roll up their sleeves and to learn things on their own and to solve problems. With that being said, the performance management approach should also be output driven instead of based on the hours the workers put in. And the next step will be on health and safety planning. We have talked, I'm sure you have heard a lot these days about washing your hands, sanitization stations, keeping the social distancing, seeing the posters, or organizations having all kinds of training and learning opportunities. You've heard enough, I've said enough too. Other things are staggered shifts, watching how many people go into the common areas, cafeteria, kitchen, washroom, conference room, etc., etc. We have also seen organizations encouraging their workers not come back to the physical office. So they can control how many people are in the elevator at a given time or in the office space at a given time. The office will become more a hoteling space instead of assigned workstations. Organizations have also offered additional cash or additional benefits dollars to their employees so they can purchase ergonomical equipment at home, computers or phone or IT security setup, so these workers can have a proper remote work setup station. Other things we want to make sure is that companies can hire professional cleaning vendors to come on site to sanitize on a regular basis to give that peace of mind to their workers, should their workers are definitely required to be physically on site. Evaluate and adjust on a regular basis. Take an iterative approach to assess how you're doing, what do we need to change, and don't forget to listen to employees' voice. As they're serving frontline customers, they actually know the best. And what's next? Many organizations will probably put their hands up and saying, okay, well, we've done the best we could given our budgets and time constraints and everything going on. Let's just hope for the best. But hoping for the best may not be the best approach. What if there is a second wave of the pandemic, or if we're going to experience another crisis of similar nature in the future? Do you have your business continuity plan ready? What we're also seeing is that there will be more and more demands on flexibility in the workplace. Survey results have shown that even after the pandemic is over, employees are going to take working remotely, flexible arrangements as a requirement from their employers, at least for a day of the week. We have also seen in New Zealand and in Japan that work from anywhere concept, shrinking the 5-day work week into 4 days work week has actually drastically improved the productivity and well-being of the workers. So now this is our check-in time with you. So please take the next 10 seconds and put in the chat box, what's your organization's biggest total compensation challenge upon return to work? So let's give it another 10 seconds. What is your organization's biggest total compensation challenge? Kevin said the long-term sustainability of a plan due to the dynamics of the business environment. Certainly, yes, we are definitely living in a changing and interesting time, to say the least.
I'll just say to that, Kevin, that yeah, a lot of people are concerned about short-term cost control and they want to save money right now, but they also have to look at sustaining a total compensation plan, which includes benefits on a long-term basis. So to set up the plan to make it sustainable and viable for a long time into the future. The next part is what happens if you go out on your own? What if you're a small organization or an entrepreneur leaving one of those big corporations with a fancy benefit plan? There are a few options, although not a lot for small corporations. As you grow, you can increase and add to your plan in the future. A few options right out of the gate, and your company might have a plan that you can actually change or convert to a personal plan from a corporate plan. Individual plans include Manulife FlexCare, Alberta Blue Cross, both Sun Life and Canada Life also have individual plans. See a couple of you mentioned you really like your healthcare spending account. Well, you can set that up if you're an incorporated company. And that allows you to run health and dental expenses through your corporation rather than paying it personally out of your pocket. I'm going to turn it over to Ada to talk a little bit more about some other areas of objectives and budget and so on.
Yes, thank you, Earl. From my own experience as I run a small HR consulting business, I take advantage of the healthcare spending account. So I set it up in a way that myself and employees' healthcare related expenses go through the company expense. So it's 100% tax deductible for the corporation. So I quite enjoy that. 97% of the Canadian business is formed by smaller businesses, which means with employees fewer than 100 people. Going forward, and especially for the millennial generation, as they have seen the unstableness of the economy, they want to make sure they have multiple sources of income in order to sustain their lifestyle and feed their families. So in that situation, we anticipate more and more gig economy, freelancers, contractors, which gives more flexibility into your workplace as you're considering your staffing needs. But long story short, based on what we have talked about today and going forward, if you're planning about reassessing your total compensation, we both believe this is a perfect time to do it. As we're in a crisis situation and navigating our way through into the future, there is no better time than now to look at our cost control as well as our plan for the future. So as you're reassessing your total compensation design or your benefits design, first of all, you want to ask yourself, what do I want to achieve with this reevaluation? Understand your objectives. Understand your demographics, your workplace issues. So do we want to reduce turnover? Do we want to motivate people, retain people? Do we want to incentivize people to come back to work? How much budget do we have? Can we spend on benefits, on other parts of total compensation? Also, make sure you do an internal or hard look at your demographics. What's the age group? What's the demographics? What's the family needs of our benefits package? If you're going to make changes, make sure you don't cut off the benefits that's most valued by your current workforce. Do a survey, talk to your employees. I once worked with an organization that they think cutting costs, stop the bleeding. The best way is to cut components of the retirement RSP matching and benefits plan. Without consulting with their employees, they went ahead negotiating with the benefits providers and cut a few components. And guess what? That resulted in immediate morale damage and eventually resulted in turnover issues because employees feel they are not valued. I mean, for employers, once you have offered some good benefits and overall total compensation package, it's really hard to take it away. So before you make any changes, really think through between the cost versus the benefits that you're going to receive with making the changes. At the same time, do a deep dive into the external markets. Do some market analysis surveys, talk to experts like Earl himself about shop around for competitive rates. Are you a top payer in the market as an employer, or are you matching the market as an average payer, or are you lagging the market as paying less than the average of the market? Know your positioning in the market, competitive place is very important. Once you have all the ducks in a row, you want to make your decision going forward, what kind of changes we're going to make. Before you announce the formal changes, you want to have the communication open with the employees on a regular basis, so they're not caught off guard by surprise, especially if they have dependents, benefits, as families as part of their benefits receivers. You want to make sure that they have enough time to manage around the changes for their entire family's benefits usage. Implement, adjust, communicate on a regular basis with workers, making sure that the changes you're implementing serve the objectives that you want to implement into the workplace. Our call to action: take the time to evaluate your total compensation plan that includes your indirect pay, the benefits, the pension, RSP, flex time, flexible work environments, as well as your incentive pay and direct pay.
So the next slide talks about a couple extra resources that we have. One we put out in a newsletter recently, an article. So these articles were written by Ada and myself. One was written with both of us, and then one was by myself and one was by Ada. The first article talks about digital resources for health and wellness that organizations can consider. There's a whole bunch of digital resources, from apps to watches, Apple Watches, and other things you can use to help your health get better. The second article was done by myself and Ada together. From an HR and benefits broker perspective, we discussed the physical health, mental health, and career health for employers and employees to ponder during the pandemic. And the last article was written by Ada just recently. She discussed the 6 critical and strategic steps to reopen and recall workers back to work.
Excellent. So that concludes our webinar today. And as you heard enough from us, now we open the floor to you to answer your question. We do see there's one question come up already, so you're welcome to take your time to put in your questions. We're also going to take our time to put our answers together. Earl, do you have any comments about Kevin's question?
My first thought was they need better benefits. And that might be part of it, but not all of it. I think the issues people are dealing with are fear about returning to work. Is the work environment safe? So initially they have to do those things about return to work. And are they given the option to work from anywhere, like Ada said, work from home or work from the office? So sometimes working from home will be a great way to get them back to work. And then also people that do want to get back to the office because they enjoy some of the social activities, a water cooler talk, etc. How do you make them comfortable and safe as well? And then compensation issues, I think, Ada, you can address some of those.
Yeah, so let me just read out Kevin's question. So Kevin's question is, what changes to compensation have to happen in order to get people back to work? Something I know that many are thinking about. It's a great question. I don't know if there's a perfect answer to it. So Earl has addressed about the benefits components. I know that with layoff situations, temporary layoffs, some organizations keep offering the benefits in order to extend the layoff beyond 120 days for Alberta. So if that's the situation, if employees refuse to come back to work, maybe that's a discussion that needs to happen between employers and employees about their benefits continuation if they refuse to come back to work when they're being recalled. Other components, like Earl has mentioned, safety, ensure the safety in the workplace. The Alberta, the AHS, and also the Alberta Health and Safety, Occupational Health and Safety, if you contact them, they can come out to your employer site to do inspection. And from what I've heard is they come out quite quickly. And also that, so if they do the inspection, they feel that you have all the precautions, control measures in place, the workplace is safe to come back to work, then it's a discussion between the managers and employers with the employees to have an open heart conversation about why don't you want to come back to work? what can we do to bring you back to work? Besides the people who just want to stay on the government benefits, which we have seen, that can warrant some performance issues or disciplinary actions. But before we get there, let's have an open heart conversation to understand the full situation. Other people with the compensation is with incentive pay. During a layoff, as workers are collecting the government benefits or EI benefits, they may not receive the incentive pay. So if you are a worker that your incentive pay in the past is much higher than what you would receive from the government benefits, then that's a great incentive for them to come back to work, which is probably a reason for employers to reconsider what do you want to offer as part of your total compensation package to incentivize the right behavior. Okay, there is another question. Thank you, Ivana. What do you think about companies trying to save money by offering STD only as an add-on, similar to optional life insurance, in which case employees pay the full premium for it?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are getting asked that a bit more now. My concern with doing that is you might find anti-selection against your plan, which means the people that may have some issues with short or things that they're dealing with, and they want to go on a short-term disability claim, they would take advantage of this benefit, and then those that don't would not do it. The last part of the question, though, you do want employees to pay all short-term disability and long-term disability premiums to keep the plan non-taxable. It's called an employee pay-all plan. They pay all the premiums, and if they receive the benefits, then those benefits are not taxable. I would be very hesitant about doing it as an optional benefit, because you would want anybody that refuses this benefit to probably sign off saying, I've been offered the opportunity to take short-term disability and I refused it. That can also create a problem down the road. I'm thinking one case in particular in Edmonton where somebody refused certain benefits, then needed a disability benefit because of a medical condition later on, and they said the employer never offered it to them and the employer had no actual documentation. So this is a tricky issue, and you should really talk to your insurance carrier and perhaps an employment lawyer about it as well to make sure you've covered yourself when you offer a benefit to select individuals only, or where it's perceived that you're offering it to just certain people and not other people. If you offer any benefit, you're supposed to offer it to everybody in the same class of employees. So you could offer it to management only or all employees only, but you need to offer it to everybody in that class. Personally, I'd be hesitant to do it this way, but we are getting asked this question. We have been asked it a few times already. Ada, do you have any other comments on it?
I think you covered it really well. My only comment is, as we work in human resources, we all know if the conversation was not documented, then it did not happen, right? So always want to make sure that you have written proof of the conversation and the consent from employees that they waive their right to receiving these benefits.
Ada, I have a question for you.
Okay.
What's the biggest, I told you I'd ask you one. What's the biggest issue you see in compensation and returning to work going forward? Whether there's a second wave or, what are some, or say the one biggest issue employers will have to deal with going forward after the pandemic for compensation?
Yeah, from a compensation perspective, I think the employers really trying to find ways to incentivize the right behaviors going forward, more results driven, more output driven, instead of just focusing on the direct pay, which is fixed based on the hours they put in. They want to see results. And also it's understandable that we're in this pretty tough situation that employers are running out of cash. Cash flow is an issue, running out of budget control is an issue. So they want to see what they can do to save costs. So with saving costs, employees' payroll accounts for more than 50% of a given organization's budgets. So it makes sense for employers to look at cutting benefits, cutting pay, or other kind of offerings in the workplace as the initial step. And that's why I recently have quite a few discussions with people who work in the real estate space about employers are considering downsizing their workspaces, especially for nonprofit or smaller organizations. They're considering having smaller spaces or co-sharing workspace with other organizations as a way to cut costs and also offer that flexibility to the workforce.
That's great. Yeah, I have a friend that works in movable office space, so they're really busy reconfiguring a lot of offices,
Yeah.
preparing for return to work.
That's excellent. Yeah. Just to wind down our presentation today, I see that people are still online, but there is no more question coming in. Thank you for your participation and engagement. We would also like you to either take a screenshot of our contact information or just keep it handy. We'll also send you a recording via the email that you register for this webinar. And in case you have questions. So if you want to have an expert opinion or cost saving for your benefits package, Earl will be the guy that you want to talk to. And if you need any HR support, contact me.
Thanks, Ada.
Yeah, thank you everyone for your participation. Have a good one.